Hey everyone, let's look at number 9 on the review, okay? So this is Unit 6 Test Review, number 9, okay? So we have a point A at negative 3 comma 3, and we have a point B at 9, negative 1. And the first thing we're asked is find the slope. Well, that's no big deal. The slope is the change in y over the change in x, or rise over run, however you want to remember it. Or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, whatever. But the point is we just have to take the difference of the y's over the difference of the x. And we have to be consistent. So I'm going to go from this point to that point. So the y's are negative 1 minus 3 over the x's, 9 minus negative 3. And I'm going to be careful with my positives and negatives. So let's see, negative 1 minus 3, well, that's the same as negative 1 plus negative 3, which is negative 4, over 9 minus negative 3, well, that's like doing a 9 plus 3, that's 12. And that reduces to negative 1/3 because I can reduce fractions. So we found the slope. If I wanted the y-intercept or the x-intercept, you know what I could do is I could actually make an equation and deal with it. So right now I can use the, let's see, point slope form. I don't know the intercept, so I can't use slope intercept form. I know a point and a slope, so I'll use point slope form. And point slope form is related to the slope. We get it from here. If slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, it's like multiplying both sides by x2 minus x1. I'm going to actually show you that in case people needed a reminder. y1 over x2 minus x1. Then you take both sides and you multiply it by x2 minus x1. Let's see if that works. So then suddenly these cancel. This whole x2 minus x1 cancels with this one, and we're left with y2 minus y1 equals m. I wrote it backwards, so that's why it ends up looking nicer if we write y minus some other y equals m times x minus some other x. It comes from this whole it's just a rewriting of the slope. So back to what we had before, let's see, we know the slope is negative 1/3, so that goes where the m is. I'll just write y minus and x minus. And I'll pick a point. Which point should we use? 9 minus 1, negative 3, 3. I'll just use this one. So I'll just use this one. And I'll plug in the y value, negative 1. And I'll substitute in the x value, 9. I could make this look nicer. I could say, hey, that's really y plus 1 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 9. That's great. This is totally good as a linear equation. That's the point slope form, because I plugged in a point and I plugged in the slope. If I were to keep solving this, like subtract 1 from both sides, or I could even distribute here, then I would get y equals, let's see, distribute would give me negative 1/3 x minus negative 1/3 times 9. Negative 1/3 times 9 is negative 9/3, which is like negative 3. And then minus that 1 because we had to subtract 1 from both sides. This becomes a plus, unless I'm doing something incorrectly. So I'd end up getting y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. So that is the slope-intercept form. So from point slope form, we can just play with the math. We can just do the math, classic pre-algebra, and we get the slope-intercept form. Okay, so anyway, the question was, how do I find the y-intercept and the x-intercept? Well, we have an equation. We can just plug in x is 0, and that gives us the y, and then we can make y 0 to get the x. So I'm just going to do that right here because I have a little bit of space left. Let's get the y-intercept. So let's make x 0. Y equals negative 1/3 0 plus 2. Well, this becomes 0. 0 plus 2 is 2, so y equals 2. So the y-intercept is 0, 2. Now for the x-intercept, we substitute here. Sorry, I know that I'm just trying to save paper. Okay, so the other one is, okay, let's say y is 0, and we're looking for the x. Okay, well, I could subtract 2 from both sides. So I get negative 2 equals negative 1/3 x. Yikes. I could multiply both sides by -3. This fraction would cancel. And so I could do that. I could do times -3 times -3. That cancels. X equals -3 times -2 is 6. So that means the x-intercept is 6 comma 0. That's a lot. I get it. I get that it's a lot. Just like pause and go back and try this out on your own, okay? I'll do another problem in a moment.